Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting for the town of Pelham for Monday, November 20th, 2017 to order. We will begin with the singing of the national anthem, led by Councillor Papp. All who are able, please rise. O Canada, our home and native land, true patron of, in all thy Son's command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Thank you, Councillor Papp. Thank you all. Now we move to adoption of the agenda. It has been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Durley. Be it resolved that the agenda for the November 20th, 2017 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any amendments to the agenda? I know Councillor Kersey was going to suggest that Summerfest report be moved up. Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of the fact that we have representatives of Summerfest here and Mr. Wink presenting, I think it's appropriate that we move up 9.3.1 Pelham Summerfest 2017 final report to just behind 5.2.1.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Durley? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. And Councillor Papp, you had an addendum item you wanted to add?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. Under item 7, business arising from council minutes, I want to add an item 7.2, and this will be a resolution that arises out of our special council minutes of November 15th, 2017.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kersey? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Any other changes to the agenda? There being none, I'm going to call the question on the amended agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries as amended. Thank you. Now we move to disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. That is any conflicts of interest that any members of council may have. Do any members have any conflicts that they need to note?
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Papp?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, under 14, presentation consideration of bylaws, 14.2, I will not be participating or voting on this particular bylaw since I have an affiliation with the said Park Hill Properties Corporation.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. Any others?
Mr. Mayor.
There are no others. Can that be reflected in the minutes? Thank you very much. Now we move to presentations. We have one, and we have some interest here from parts of the community. This is regarding envisioning Fenwick and the East Fenwick secondary plan. Perhaps Mr. McDonald can assist our presenter getting this up on the screen. Thanks very much for joining us this evening from SGL Planning and Design Group. Got it. You already knew about it, so there you go. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Utamaya Giambattista. I'm a planner and urban designer working for SGL Planning and Design. We were retained by the town of Pelham to conduct a secondary plan for the East Fenwick area. And I will try in as quickly and as few slides to take you through basically 6 months of work, which are really, really condensed. But basically, the study purpose is to craft a series of policies and urban design guidelines that will guide the future development of the East Fenwick lands. The East Fenwick lands are bounded by Memorial Drive to the north, Welland Drive to the south, Cream Street to the east, and Balfour Street to the west. So these lands have been part of the official plan and designated expansion area for at least 10 years now. And it's now that we are getting together to really start thinking how that specific part of Fenwick should grow and should evolve as new development comes in. So the study schedule was divided into 4 main areas. The first one was the collection and analysis of information. We finished that back in August. We are currently in phase 2, which is the land use development plan. We developed some options that we will show you. The options have gone to the steering committee, the region, the conservation authority, the development interest in the area to be evaluated, and then we will be coming up with, during phase 3, with a preferred secondary plan option and policy. And finally, during phase 4, we will come back in February to present a draft final secondary plan to you with a preferred land use plan, preferred policies. So far, we have had 2 very important public consultation sessions, one in September, a second one back in June. And I participated at the main festival, Come Alive Outside, back in, I think it was July, August. And I was able to talk to many of the residents back there to really start getting a better sense of the expectations and ideas people has in regards to the community. So, well, there you go. Another very, very neat, important element of our public outreach program has been going to schools and really talking to students about the future of their communities. Because it's an elementary class, it basically is more of a 101 planning class, but it still relates to Fenwick. We ask students to trace and map how they come and go to school, what parts of the town they like, and that kind of starts really, really inciting and setting the seeds for future thinking about our cities. As you know, the area that we are analyzing and studying, it's located in what has been identified a greenfield development area. As a greenfield development area, the majority of the areas that you see with a hatch that goes from right to left will be subject to a 20 unit per hectare density based on current provincial policy. So it's so important for us to get the public consultation right, because we are not only introducing the expansion and new development into a community, but we are also basically changing many of the presets or ideas of how people think their towns ought to happen and develop and growth. So that's why you will see a very, very important emphasis on how we reach out to people. In the process of analyzing the area, we along with a large team, we have made resolutions doing the natural heritage. The team went out and analyzed all the lands that we had access as far as environmental features. And they came back with a map that was presented to the steering committee as well as the public that basically started to map out elements of the natural heritage system that ought to be further analyzed. And you will see kind of a bubble area in yellow circling the central green features. That area, it's the area that it's going to be further analyzed through an environmental impact assessment once development interests come into the area and really do the final study. All of this is also obviously being reviewed and analyzed by Niagara Conservation Authority. So we highlight all the elements that have to be further studied as development comes in. Another big element or layer of how we understand our communities is the heritage component. So we had Archaeological Services, Inc. do a cultural heritage assessment. And cultural heritage assessment is an assessment of everything that's built. So of built heritage. So it's houses, farms, built hedgerows that kind of put together an idea of what was the town in the past. So they highlight a series of properties that they see as having importance in how we think and conserve our heritage. You can see in the corner of Balford and Canberra, the old school, for example, is one of the main buildings that really start give you a flavor of what the town is all about. There's an incredible property of our study area on Cream Street. You see it on purple as well. That also is one of the main buildings that indicate or give Fenwick its specific character. And then they identify a series of smaller lots and buildings that occur throughout the study area that ought to be considered into in the integration of their assets into the thinking of the new community. And there are many ways of doing that at the time of planning a community. I won't take you through a great detail through existing traffic conditions, but there's no traffic issues at this point in time. Our engineers, associate engineering, conducted a study of all the intersections in the study area, and they determined that there was no issues. However, there are some issues related to servicing, especially sewage servicing. We also, you will see that we incorporated into the study area that little kind of residential estate pocket to the west. It's already built. We are not changing it, but they are on a septic system. And part of this study is to try to bring them into a service of municipal servicing. So that's why you see them as part of the study area. There's also water. There's just one main pipe coming down Canberra, and the town has expressed their desire to find a secondary mean of bringing water into the area. So if something happens along Canberra, you are not completely cut off from the servicing of water. That's another consideration. Storm drainage, it obviously works with the wonderful wetland feature that you have kind of crisscrossing from Memorial all the way to Cream on the easterly part of the study area. And basically water flows in Canberra serves to divide the flow of water into two areas. And we are of the opinion that the majority of the water can collect further south of Welland Road in a natural way. So that's kind of following the natural direction of water. The next layer of our analysis was the consultation we conducted with people. We found through public meetings and a comment board at the library and individual talks with people that people really wanted a focus on placemaking and not cars. We found everything from people wanting more apartments than townhouses. I think Fenwick is kind of lucky that Fenwick residents are familiar with the apartment idea, just because you have the existing apartment building at Balfour and Canberra, yes, thank you. So I think that kind of helped break a little bit of the stigma of what an apartment is and how it looks like. Meanwhile, a lot of other people prefer townhouses and no apartments at all. I think for children, when we went to schools, it was important to have places to walk, and even for adults, I think it was a constant in the message we received. People wanted safe sidewalks to walk and go from their specific place of residence to the center, to the downtown. And unfortunately, in our explorations of the site, you can see a lot of people walking in segments of the street where it's quite uncomfortable to be caught in between the ditch and traffic. So that's something that our study will certainly address and put forward as part of a plan and policy to be implemented. So, putting all those layers together, we put together 2 plans that had an alternate further development plan to the public. These options went also out to all our steering committee meeting members and the development group to be evaluated and to provide their further input. So what we see is basically option A gravitates around 2 kind of central areas, 2 open spaces. The idea being that to really develop a neighborhood, to develop a sense of place, to develop a community, you need recognizable centers, open spaces usually that use existing environmental areas, existing wetland areas that can be integrated maybe through a trail system, through views and vistas into what tells you are in a specific place, in a special place. So option A, as you can see, has 2 distinctive centers with a road system connecting everything from the north on Memorial all the way down to Welland. Or option B, where we have smaller sub-neighborhood centers as well, and they function as little parkettes, all connected through a road system that takes you from one little parkette to the next. The road system also tries to create a grid, so you ideally will have a mid-block connector from Memorial to Welland, somewhere along the lines. And if possible, if environmental features are further studied, from Balford all the way to Cream. That really starts helping how you deal with traffic and pedestrians and cycling in the future. And that's something that in the planning of communities, we usually try to have at least 1 mid-block connector within a concession. So that's what you will see. So we went to the public with very kind of detailed demonstration plans. These demonstration plans were developed to elicit ideas and feedback. At the end of the day, they will be part of an appendix to our secondary plan study. The secondary plan map is basically a bubble map. It won't be as detailed as this, but this started to give us a better idea of what we are looking at. The development group also put forward an alternate on how, for example, this is option B, A, could expand to the east shall the environmental feature through a proper EIS process be deemed smaller. We don't know if it will go to that extent or somewhere in the middle, but that's an option they asked us to consider. We took them in, and it was circulated to the entire steering committee for evaluation as well. So those were the same thing for option B. Unfortunately, you cannot see, but all the precedents, little pictures that you see surrounding the main map have a lot of pictures on how, for example, you can integrate existing woodlots into play areas, how you can link different open spaces through walkways and trails without having them in the back of houses, without proper eyes on the street. So there are a lot of good urban design ideas that we try to familiarize people with. And I can take you through it if you want to. And option B also has an option from the development group to further expand to the east. As you can see, it kind of, now you have a connection from mid-concession connection from Balfour all the way to Cream. If that is, if the environmental feature was to be defined as they are showing right now. And I won't take you through the myriad of cross sections we had Andrea and her team go through, but I think one of the most important ones was Canberra Road. Since you commissioned the downtown studies, there was an idea that was introduced of linking Font Hill to Pelham through a really, really interesting promenade. And to do so, we started to explore ideas on how that road will look like. Unfortunately, this is your nearest road in Fenwick. It's at some points 14, 12 meters. So to actually, put forward a promenade, proper promenade with cycling and sidewalks and trees, we have to start thinking about it in the context of future development and how future development can be brought in to allow for those lands to come into the public realm. So that's why we put forward. We develop a series of sections with on-street parking, with multi-use trails, with separate trails and sidewalks. One idea was to, as we are showing here, to really enhance Canberra to have a multi-use trail with the sidewalk, so you eventually could link Font Hill all the way to Fenwick in one way or another, while maintaining the character of Canberra. So Canberra has more generous front setbacks than current development in subdivisions, so we will maintain and respect that. So you carry that flavor, that character through the development area. You introduce a promenade, and you maintain one of the most iconic roads you have in town. And one other element that we wanted to introduce, we studied Welland, we studied Queen Street, Balfour, and Memorial, but the other important element that we introduced was to develop local streets that had a distinctive rural character. They still had sidewalks, but they didn't have your subdivision curve cuts and curves. So we developed a cross section. We put it forward to Andrea's team, and I think that will kind of further complement the development of a very specific character element for the new community once it's ready for development. So you see a series of cross sections. We went and collected precedents. Believe it or not, this is in Etobicoke in Toronto. So you have the same rural cross section in the middle of the city, but still very, very soft. You don't have a curb defining the street, and still allows for that very distinctive character. And that's kind of in a nutshell what we're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Maya Giambattista, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Wonder if members of council have any questions for our presenter? I have a couple. I think one of the things that we're hearing in the community is one of the things that you talked about. Are the densities increasing? Why is that?
Yeah.
Now, my understanding that's provincial legislation. Can either you or the director of planning expand on that? You said 20 units per acre. Hectare. What did you say?
Per hectare. So
Per hectare. I thought it was in other parts of the town. It's 51 units. So maybe we can just hear about that, Madam Director.
Mr. Mayor, through you, it is 20 units per hectare. The area is designated as greenfield in the town official plan. And the policies in the official plan today talk about 50 persons per job per hectare. So that translates down to about 20 dwelling units a hectare. So that's how we convert
Oh,
the
20
50
dwelling units, okay.
persons and jobs per hectare
Okay.
to 20.
And it's kind of the province that's telling us that, is it?
So this area is subject to the growth plan policies. The provincial growth plan came into effect in 2006, and that was the density requirements that are in the provincial growth plan. And then when the town updated its official plan in 2012 and what was approved in 2014, it had to be consistent with the growth plan policies, which are those numbers, the
Okay.
50 persons per jobs per hectare or 20 units a hectare.
Thank you. And my understanding is that this area was added to the urban boundary in the late 80s, 90s.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe it was 1989, it became into the urban area boundary for the town of Pelham. So it was identified in the earlier official plan and now this official plan in the urban boundaries.
Okay, thank you. In terms of some of the environmental features and some of
Yeah.
the owners of the land, large tracts of land are here, and they would want those probably as small as possible. And then there's others that live in around the area and love nature, and they would want them as big as possible. So
Yes.
can you inform council how that process is going to function over the next couple of months to discern sort of a clearer view of what those environmental features are going to be and how they get written into the plan?
So what we are doing through the secondary plan is basically identifying all the areas that we're flagging everything that, in our opinion, our environmental consultant team's opinion, has to be further studied. There's an element that the blue with the hatch area, it's a provincially significant wetland. That area has been mapped. It has a specific boundary, and that is not open for discussion, so that's established.
Okay.
But the green area that you see further south, it's a new element. We identify that, so when development comes forward, and they will have to complete an environmental impact assessment study, where they take the time to go in and analyze that feature not only for its environmental system capabilities, but also for wildlife and environmental merit. So it's at that point that through a checkpoint with NPCA, every single element of a broader study will be analyzed. It will give you a finalized boundary. I have the suspicion that that boundary will lay in between what we identify and where the developers identify in their maps. Somewhere in between, there will be a line that will define those features. Sometimes the environmental consultants will find areas that, I don't know, you have seen them, you have a woodlot, and then you have a clearing, and then a little arm of another woodlot. Sometimes environmental consultants and specialists like to fill in the clearance to create a stronger unit. So that's where you enter into negotiations of, okay, I move this specific area to fill in this specific area to bolster the environmental qualities of that unit. But all that discussion and all those findings and all those decisions will have to go through a very detailed study with environmental and ecologists that will suggest what has to be done.
Okay, great, that's helpful. So that this is sort of what it looks like now, and there's a process to get it to the final piece. Just a final question on the one with this orange circles with the dots.
Okay.
Is that the 5-minute walk? Is that what that is?
Sorry, I, in my rush to explain everything, what you see is a 5-minute walk, which is about 400 meters wide circle that people in their average capacity will need to walk for 5 minutes. And it's used as a very, very important building block in the planning of communities, because that tells you how far people will have to walk to a central feature, to a parquet, or even to transportation. And that's why I for example, in Plan B, you have that kind of central road that will allow in the future the running of a transportation system within a 5-minute walk of all residents. So that's kind of a very simple kind of tool that we use, urban designers and planners, to assess the scale of a neighborhood and see what's within that walking shed.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate the clarity. Councillor Durley has signaled that he has a question. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I guess a question. After this was the meeting at number 2 fire station, which was well attended, and your presentation was excellent there. There was a misconception out there with some of the public that we're forcing people to do this. This is just a plan to say when the development happens, this is the way we would like to see it happen. I think we have to clear that up, because nobody's forcing anybody to develop any land. I think this is the guideline as to how it should develop and the best way that it can develop, according to you, if you could just make that statement.
Okay, thanks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we will continue to be very, very clear with the public, and not only in explaining how different they're going to grow, but how the process is to follow, and how this is, once the interests come in and development interests are in place, they will be required to follow, but nobody has to develop at this or any other point in time if they don't want to. So it's a guide.
That point had to be made clear. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Durley. Anyone else? Thank you very much for your presentation. I appreciate your work. We look forward to the next touchdown with us and
Yes.
you working together with the community. So it has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Durley. Be it resolved that Council receive the presentation from SGL Planning Design, Inc., respecting envisioning Fenwick, the East Fenwick Secondary Plan for information. No comments or questions? I don't think so. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thanks again for your work.
Thank you.
And for those that attended specifically for this, thank you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Now we move to Mr. Wink, who's the chair of the Summerfest, Pelham Summerfest. And you have at least one other member of Summerfest committee here. So thank you very much for joining us.
Great, thanks. Okay, Mayor Augustin, councilors and citizens, it's our pleasure to present to you the 2017 Pelham Summerfest Final Report. So the committee purpose is to organize and develop an annual multiple-day festival in the town of Pelham. The goal of the festival is to contribute to the creation of a vibrant, healthy, sustainable community by enticing residents and visitors to explore what Pelham's natural beauty and culture has to offer. Our objectives are to encourage strong economic and tourism growth, to form partnerships with regional organization and provincial agencies, to promote active lifestyles by opening streets to pedestrian traffic, creating a public gathering place, to encourage all sectors of the community such as service clubs, businesses, agriculture, sports organizations, arts, cultural, etc. in developing and promoting the festival, to assist in the preparation of an annual budget for approval by town council, and to canvass for donations, sponsorships, and upper tier financial support to underwrite the festival. So after 7 years of operation, Pelham Summerfest is integral to the activities that enrich our community. It continues as a 4-day event with significant support from local corporate sponsors, volunteers, service clubs, businesses, and the town of Pelham. In 2017, residents and visitors of all ages enjoyed the music, food, and fun while local businesses showcased their products and services. The emphasis remains on free family fun and activities that appeal to all ages, taking place within a car-free setting in downtown Fonthill and Peace Park. We were very fortunate this year to have 4 days of perfect weather. In March of 2016, Pelham Summerfest received recognition of its success from Festivals and Events Ontario and was named one of the top 100 festivals and events in Ontario for the 3rd year in a row. So I'll quickly go through some of the activities that happened on each night. On Thursday night, the band shell concert had the Caverners as the performing group. We had a beer and wine garden, and as every Thursday night, Pelham Farmers Market and the Pelham Supper Market. On Friday night, we had the theme of Country Night, where we had a beer and wine garden under the arches, and there were outdoor patios. Country western music was on the main stage, and food and retail vendors lined Pelham Street. On Saturday, in the kids zone in Peace Park, we had 4 bouncers and paddle boats. The volunteer firefighters had their burning house. Children's entertainment was provided in Peace Park band shell, including a puppet show, magician, steel band, and reptile kingdom. Park entertainers and buskers included Mad Science, a clown, and Safari Niagara's University. Pelham Minor Basketball Association had a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and the active zone in the active zone, it was led by the Pelham Active Transportation Committee, where they had numerous activities. Saturday during the day, we had the street festival. We had the active zone. On main stage, we had entertainment featuring live music. There were food and non-food vendors, buskers, and beer and wine under the arches and in outdoor patios. Saturday, on the main stage, once again this year, we had an exceptional lineup of local entertainers. On Sunday, in the park, we had music at the band shell. We had a kids zone with bouncers and mini golf. We had the community pancake breakfast and a family fun walk, and there were retail vendors and food vendors. And for the 2nd year in a row, which has really enhanced our Sunday, we had our 2nd annual Summerfest Classic Car Show. One thing we tried this year, and it was new for 2017, was the Teen Zone in Marlene Stewart Street Park, where we had skateboard competition. Brock University had ultimate frisbee. We had live entertainment and a DJ. The committee worked with students from E.L. Crosley and Mayak to add a teen zone to Summerfest in 2017. Brock University Sports also came on board as a sponsor and supporter of this new addition. While the skateboard competition generated a modest engagement, attendance overall did not meet expectations. The committee will go back to the stakeholders and work together to determine how this initiative can be reworked and improved to engage the youth segment in our community. Another thing we added this year was traditional busking, and with artists performing within the festival area, being permitted to solicit direct donations during their performance. This was a successful addition for both the festival and the buskers. In 2018, the committee would like to continue this and incorporate designated busker stages and schedules. So social media, again, as I'm not going to read through everything on this slide, but the social media is being taken up quite a bit better than what has been in the past. We do have an app, Summerfest app that people can get at on their phone. The analytics show that 100 people downloaded the app this year for a total of 353 in 2 years. And it was visited 1,587 times, with the average usage time being 1.3 minutes per visit. So Pelham Summerfest by the numbers. Attendance for the 4 days was 40,659. The committee continues to pursue the goal of boosting attendance on Friday and Sunday of the event. Summerfest 2017 met and exceeded targeted attendances on all 4 days. Visitors came from Pelham, 41.7%, other municipalities in Niagara, 46.6%, and outside the Niagara region, 11.7%. Returning visitors were 74% and new visitors 26%. In addition, we enhanced our shuttle service, and this year ridership was 575. Building on recommendations from 2016, a second shuttle bus running directly from the Pelham Arena to the festival area was added on Friday and Saturday. Ridership was a significant improvement over the 209 that used it in 2016, so we almost tripled the usage. In addition, we had the bike valet, and there was in excess of 80 people that utilized that service. The economic impact was determined using the Ontario's Tourism Regional Impact Model, and it indicated the impact to the community was approximately $2.5 million, which equates to $65 per person. This is not a $65 per person spend, but an impact to the overall communities. So if I do a simple example, a farmer raises crops, transports it to one of the restaurants. The restaurant has individuals that have to prepare it, so there's labor costs and all sorts of overhead, and then it gets sold to the people in attendance. So it's not just that person paying $5 or $10 for that particular item. There's a filter throughout the area. We had cash sponsors of $38,231. We had in-kind contributions of $23,650. Volunteer hours were 1,589. And total number of vendors, we had 59, of which 26 were Pelham vendors, 21 were from the Niagara region, and 12 were outside of the region. Well, the addition of Summerfest ambassadors with the addition of Summerfest ambassadors who engaged attendees directly at the event to conduct on-site surveys, gathering feedback and information in a personal and interactive format, we have had our largest sampling of attendees to date from which to draw our data analysis. 210 surveys were received, and we also gained information from ballots for giveaways during the event. There was 1,263 ballots filled out, and also we gathered information from post-event online surveys to utilize in this analysis. With 5 years of data available, the attendance patterns with respect to out-of-town visitors are consistent. The majority of attendees, approximately 42%, reside in the town of Pelham, and the next largest group of visitors is from Welland at approximately 22%. Committee members would like to acknowledge and thank many generous sponsors, volunteers, businesses, and staff that have supported the event. We're proud of all the volunteer support of our local service clubs on Saturday, and additionally, we would like to thank town staff and council for their significant contribution of volunteer hours. Pelham Summerfest is made possible through the efforts of sponsors and volunteers with the support of staff. The contributions of Town of Pelham staff, whether as volunteers or while on assignment, are gratefully acknowledged. The in-kind contributions of the sponsors and volunteers have been value-based on accepted or actual valuations. Over the lifetime of this event, the Summerfest Committee has given back to our local service clubs with honorariums totaling in excess of $51,000, who in turn give back to the community. Over the past 7 years, Summerfest has created and funded several legacy items within our community, including upgrades of electrical systems on Pelham Street, supporting and promoting transit, increased safety measures such as improvements to lighting and purchase of high-quality cord covers that are used for all town events, the Shade Pavilion and Peace Park, and of course our now iconic arches. The committee intends to continue this tradition and will be discussing options for the use of the surplus as we move forward with planning for 2018. So a big thank you to our sponsors, volunteers, businesses of Pelham, service clubs, staff of the town of Pelham, council of the town of Pelham, and our residents. And on behalf, what amazes me every year is we pull this off. We had 40,000 people attend an event, and this is the amount of people that did all the planning for this event, you know, and we're fortunate to have a very dedicated group of people, and I think we all work extremely well together. So you can see all their names. I'm not going to read them off, but Mr. Mayor, that's my report.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your presentation and for your hard work. There might be some questions from members of council for your presentation. I do want to name off all of the names.
Okay.
Yours is at the top of the list as the chair of the Summerfest Committee. So thank you very much, Mr. Wink, for your dedication. And you've been chair for a few years now, and very, very dedicated to the event. I know that many times that yourself and other members of the committee are here through there's snow outside and you're meeting inside here on a weeknight. It also includes Bill Gibson, who's here. He's the representative from the Pelham Active Transportation Committee and was quite involved and had a peer award given to him recently for his efforts, especially on the Sunday, and it was the Summerfest Committee that wanted to acknowledge that. Candy Ashby, representing the Pelham Business Association. Michelle Stewart, who's a resident that really wants to help out and has done a fabulous job. Matthew Lisick, from the representing the Chamber of Commerce. Sophia Laberchosa and McKenna Belding, representing the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. Councillor Gary Accursi, as well, who's been former chair of the committee and very, very involved in Summerfest through the years. And then our tremendous staff, including Vicki Van Ravensway, Sally Yeager, Jody Hendricks. Now, those are the recreation, culture, and wellness staff, but there's so many other staff that are involved in this and help coordinate it and make it all happen. So congratulations. I think, Council, we give them a round of applause for their efforts. Thank you very much. I will now open it up to questions for John.
Through you,
Councillor King,
Mr. Mayor,
questions,
thank you so
comments?
much for your presentation, Mr. Wink. You reported there were 40,659 attendees this year. I know that we also are seeing a big increase in the social media, and hopefully those numbers will increase in 2018. But because at some point I had read that there were waning crowds at Summerfest, I'm just wondering, what is the percentage of increase from 2017 over 2016?
Okay, so we had approximately 7,000 more people between the.
So we're
we
probably
went
looking
from
at
30
24%, yeah?
Roughly 33 to 40,000.
So that's about 24%?
Something like that.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor Papp?
Well, I'll be very brief, but I'm so proud, we're all proud of what you do.
Yeah.
A, you don't lose any money. You make money.
Two.
Right, Bill? That's. And what I love is the level of sponsorship that you get. That is incredible, because I've been part of a lot of service clubs. It's hard to get sponsors, but you do an incredible job, plus our own. I think the diversification of the types of vendors and the types of variety of, of entertainment, it's next to none. People are blown away. I remember at one point, we never had a Western night because we had a gap to fill, and we did, and it just exploded. And then on top of the provincial recognition is significant. People are watching and are very, very keen on learning from us. In fact, Mr. Mayor and myself were away at AMO in August, and we were at the annual conference. And a couple of our municipal colleagues from other areas were fascinated, wanted to know how we did it and what they could do, and just couldn't believe that within a matter of 6 to 7 years, we had grown from this level to this level. So I extend to you on behalf of my colleagues and personally myself that I'm just so proud of what Summerfest has done for this town, and hope that this will continue to grow, and hopefully be in the top 10. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any questions, but I would like to make a comment. Firstly, I'd like to reinforce what you've said and acknowledge all the volunteer hours and the hard work of the committee and all the other volunteers and our recreation, culture, and wellness staff who have supported us all the way along the way. But I'd also like to stress one point that Mr. Wink made, and that is the importance of all the departments in this community, of our staff that step forward for those 4 days and a few days before and a few days after to make it happen.
Yeah.
And if that changes, and I recognize that everybody has demands on their time, and we're trying to get things done with a limited staff. But I will say that if that does not happen, if the staff does not continue to embrace it and support it, we will find ourselves in trouble trying to move forward with a successful Summerfest. If we went out and hired all of the people we would need to put up all of the fencing and do all of the things that our staff do behind the scenes logistically, we might be coming to council for more money instead of being able to reinvest in the community in a very positive way as outlined by Mr. Wing. So I'm not saying that as a threat or anything. I'm just saying that to stress the importance of staff and that we do acknowledge the importance of staff in going forward and making Pelham Summerfest the success that it is. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Mr. Wink, one item I think you had mentioned, and I'm so impressed as well, because each year you keep trying to improve. And you mentioned that you tried to improve, especially in the teen area, and you're going to go back to the stakeholders. Well, a large stakeholder in that, I think, is the youth of our community, obviously, and that's what you're intending. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Council is planning a youth forum this year, and I think that would be a great question for leaders from each of the schools in our community to provide feedback on. What is it, the type of things that you'd like to see at Summerfest? So if we can work together with you on that, with the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, I think it would help inform the representatives from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council on what it is that our youth in our community want. So I just wanted to inform you of that they're planning a forum, and we can work together on that.
Yeah, part of our, we had a subcommittee of, for the teen zone,
Yeah.
which included members from MIAC, and we received their input on it. Brock University came with their sponsorship and their help very late in the game on that whole process of the teen zone, and they're more than willing to come to the table again this year, early on, to help develop that, because I feel that it is a gap in what we provide. We do a really good job for the little ones, and we do a good job for the families, but we're a little weak on activities for teens.
Okay, so we'll work together on that and try to improve the festival and make it even better. That's great, and that's, as I mentioned, that's what you like to do each year. You try and improve on it, so thank you very much for that. I am now going to make the motion here, or read the motion. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. Be it resolved that Council receive the presentation from John Wink, Pelham Summerfest Committee, respecting the 2017 Summerfest final report for information. Councillor Durley, did you have an additional comment? Any
I'm
comments or
going to
questions?
vote for it like this. because
Okay,
it's-
just great, there we go. I think we should all use 2 thumbs up. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Thumbs up. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate your hard work. Council will recall that we actually changed the agenda, Mr. Wink, so we have this item next, which is the report. It's the Pelham Summerfest report. So it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the council receive the concept paper providing the Pelham Summerfest 2017 final report, and that surplus funds realized in 2017 be carried forward to sustain the event in 2018 and be utilized for capital or legacy purchases, and the council maintain the same level of funding for 2018, which was $15,000. Questions or comments to that report? A very comprehensive report as well, which is available on our website. Maybe that's something we can send out there as well. I'm going to call the question then on that motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks again to all those members. Okay, thank you. Now we move to adoption of, Councillor Beatty isn't here, so we don't have a report from the regional council or regional council, which is coming up next, 2 weeks from now. So it has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by, I need a seconder, Councillor King. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. Minutes of the regular meeting of November 6, 2017, minutes of the special council meeting of November 6th, and minutes of the special council meeting of November 15th, 2017. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Thanks to the clerk for the quick turnaround time on some of those minutes, one of those minutes. Now there's some business arising from the council minutes. This is regarding the declaration of vacancy on Pelham Council. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. Whereas Ward 1, Councillor M. Junkin has submitted a letter of resignation effective November 6, 2017. And whereas under such circumstances, the Municipal Act Section 262(1) states, in part, the council shall at its next meeting declare the office to be vacant. Now therefore be it resolved, the council received a letter of resignation from M. Junkin dated November 6, 2017, submitted to the clerk, and that the council of the town of Pelham hereby declares Ward 1 councillor seat for the town of Pelham to be vacant effective immediately. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Now we had an item that was added to the agenda, and Councillor Papp, you said you had a motion under 7.2.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion under 7.2. It comes out of the minutes of the special council meeting of November 15th, 2017. And I move the motion, and I have a seconder, Councillor Kersey. And I will read out the motion, and I must state up front, this has also been vetted with our legal advisors as well. and will be part of a further discussion later on at the end of the month. Whereas former Councillor Marvin Junkin has allegedly stated to the Voice of Pelham and has alleged in an email to Regional Councillor Tony Quirk dated November 12, 2017, that the town has an additional $17 million in debt and a total debt of $59 million, and Mr. Junkin states is not disclosed in the town's annual audited financial statements. And whereas Deloitte has assured the town's annual audited financial statements are accurate, and whereas Mr. Junkin has inaccurately stated in an email to Regional Councillor Tony Quirk dated November 12, 2017, that the town caused a complete forensic audit to be conducted by KPMG, and the findings of such alleged complete forensic audit was presented during a closed meeting of council on September 5th, 2017. Whereas a privilege report was commissioned by the town's lawyers and prepared by KPMG in the context of litigation threatened by an unidentifiable individual, which was presented during a closed meeting of council on September the 5th, 2007, is now referred to as the report. And whereas Mr. Junkin breached his oath of office by disclosing the existence of the report, therefore, and whereas the town maintains its rights to litigation privilege over the report, and where some members of the community and some regional councillors have called for a release of what they refer to as the KPMG forensic audit, what is in fact the report, as a result of the disseminated false information relating to the allegation of additional $17 million of debt and total debt of $59 million, and whereas the release of the report could be a violation of the Municipal Freedom of Information Act, as it contains personal information of an identifiable individual, and whereas council is desirous of clearing up the misconceptions and allegations of Mr. Junkin and maintaining an accurate record of the finances of the town, be it resolved that the town of Pelham hereby directs the CEO to request the KPMG include in their forensic audit to be presented by Town Council on November 29, 2017, as permitted by professional standards and recording requirements, all of its financial findings and conclusions as set out in the report, and together with pertinent updates, with all personal information about the identifiable individual and information relating to the employee negotiations and advice that is subject to solicitor privilege be removed. Table that.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Papp. Any comments or questions to that? Perhaps you can hand that over. Thank you. Thanks for reading it. I think the recommendation that you've presented is very clear. So, any members of council, are we ready to call the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We look forward to that action occurring. Thank you. Now we move to consent agenda items to be considered in block. We have a number of items that, are there any items to be lifted for separate consideration? We've already lifted 931. Any others? Okay, so it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the following consent agenda items be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. Presentations of recommendations arising from the Committee of the Whole meeting, and that the recommendation is that Council approve the recommendations from the following: the Committee of the Whole meeting of November 6, 2017, and also the minutes for that meeting, that they be approved as adopted, as printed, circulated, and read. Then we have staff reports of routine nature for information or action. As I mentioned, we had the Pelham Summerfest final report lifted, so we do have the Thursday Night Experience 2017 final report. And the motion, be it resolved that council receive the concept sheet. How might we provide council an update on the Thursday Night Experience, knowing all the three groups met and agreed, therefore, that the recommendations contained therein be approved as follows. The council designate Pelham Supper Market to be held on Thursdays, June to September 2018 in Peace Park as municipally significant events, and that the area to be licensed under the special occasions permit through the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario be the north portion of Peace Park up to and including the sale, as it's termed, And that the clerk be authorized to make application for a special occasions permit for the Pelham Supper Market, and that council approve road closures on Thursday nights from June to September from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. between 39 Pelham Town Square and 31 Pelham Town Square. We also have the 2017 third quarter financial report. Be it resolved, the council receive the 2017 third quarter financial report for information. Action correspondence of a routine nature. We have one item. It's from the 613 Royal Canadian Army Cadets. Use of the arena facilities for Cadet Corps Annual Review Ceremony. Be it resolved, the council approve the request from the Army Cadets dated October 26th to use the arena facilities for the Cadet Corps Annual Review Ceremony to be held on June 2nd, 2018, and the user fee be waived for this event. We have information correspondence items. Be it resolved, the following correspondence items be received for information. A thank you from Linda Ferguson for regarding the installation of the new service club signs for information. A letter from Minister Bill Morneau and Morrow, and Minister Kevin Flynn, two heads of council, regarding the proposed amendment to Bill 148, the Fair Workplaces, for information. A thank you from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 613 for regarding support and appreciation for the 2017 Poppy campaign. And finally, we have committee minutes for information. Summerfest committee minutes of October 11th and the Pelham Seniors Advisory minutes of October 4th. Questions or comments on any of those items? Just wanted, go ahead, Councillor Powell.
No, I just wanted to thank the treasurer for the third quarter financial report, because it's very important. We're, well, less than 3 months away from the end of the year, 2 months, and we need to get some sense of where we're headed, so that this will definitely give us an idea of how to deal with certain situations, and also ensure that we're not overstating or overspending our accounts, but they're consistent with what we approved. So I look forward to that, and thank you for the report.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to that report? Okay. Anyone else to any of the other reports before us? I want to thank the director for the Thursday night experience and the final report. Pleased that all three groups are supportive of this. It's important. So thank you very much. We look forward to the changes. It was getting a little squishy in there on certain Thursday nights, depending on the crowd and the weather and all that. So very pleased. And we call it the sail, I guess, but that's that feature over here with the things sticking up, right? And the sail on top. Okay, so thank you very much for that. I wanted to highlight the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 613. They're thanking us, but we should be thanking them as well for them, along with the cadets, hosting the Remembrance Day ceremonies, and each member of council here participated in those ceremonies, both on the Sunday and also on the day of, as applicable. But the Royal Canadian Legion certainly does a wonderful work, remembering and honoring our veterans and those that made the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you very much to them. And it's great to see the involvement of the cadets in that as well, and passing that legacy along. And the large crowd, huge crowd that was there, especially on it being a Saturday, and sunny weather. It wasn't warm, but sunny weather at the Legion for Remembrance Day. So thank you very much. And I believe, and the final one was 952, letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Minister of Labor regarding Bill 148. I know this is something that Council has made a resolution on, and the Chief has continued to update us on. So it appears that they've solved the issue, or a major issue. I know the Chief spoke to me the other day that there might be still something that could be tweaked, but they're certainly along the right path. So I wanted to highlight that for members of Council and the community. That's regarding pagers and a minimum page out and 3-hour minimum versus points, etc. So I think, Chief, is there any, can you just quickly update Council? I didn't, ask you about this ahead of this meeting, but we spoke about it earlier last week, about the 3-hour minimum for a call. Is that still an outstanding issue? Are you able to add anything to that?
Through Mr. Mayor, that is one aspect that they didn't directly speak to, the minister didn't speak to in his letter, but it is being addressed through some other positions, so they recognize that it is still a substantial amount of money that it could
Okay.
impose on the municipality, so I think that they're gonna further add more revisions to it.
Okay.
I'll be confident they'll get it cleaned up before
Okay.
it gets to the next reading.
Good. I did speak to the Minister of Finance a couple of weeks ago about it, and the Minister of Rural Affairs about it as well, and they did indicate that they were working on it, so no doubt they'll keep working on it. So, thank you very much, Chief. Anything else on this motion? I'm going to call the question and stop talking. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we move to presentation consideration of bylaws. I propose, colleagues, thank you, Madam Clerk, that we do need to deal with bylaw 1 and bylaw 2 separately because of the conflict that Councillor Papp indicated. So, it's been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Durley. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaw, do now read a first, second, third time do pass, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaw number 3935, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3578 to appoint Tina Drummond to the Pelham Public Art Advisory Committee. Questions or comments? Great to see additional involvement on this committee. We look forward to the work of the committee. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Just waiting here, the councillor. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Durley. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaw, do now read it first, second, third time, and do pass the same, and the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal bylaw 3936, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of town-owned lands, part of Block 1, Plan 59M 432, Part 3 on 59R 15851, together with easement SN 482259, Town of Pelham to Park Hill Properties Corporation, and to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute all necessary documents to complete the transaction. Questions or comments? Just there's lots of talk in the community about this particular sale. I know I received a couple of emails from folks that want to join part of the waiting list. They're looking forward to this particular development, and they presented at council last week, and they did so publicly, outlining their plans for that. So we look forward to this coming together and this being developed and starting hopefully in the spring. It's going to be an exciting development for the town. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. If we can have Mr. Zimmer, if you wouldn't mind calling Councillor Pratt back. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, second by Councillor King. Be it resolved, the following bylaw be read a first, second, third time and passed. Bylaw 3937 to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Pelham at its regular meeting held on the 20th day of November 2017. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. And it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, this regular meeting of council be adjourned until the next special meeting scheduled for Wednesday, November 29th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. We're still looking for a venue, and so that will be coming out shortly in terms of the venue. The clerk is working diligently on that, so we wait for that to come. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Let's take a 5-minute break before we start Policy and Priorities Committee. Thank you.